What's up, Sports Fury Nation? We're here with a divisional outlook. This time, we're heading out to the NFC West. And joining us to talk about the NFC West is none other than our special guest, Norbcam.
What's up?
Welcome, Norbcam.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on here. This is going to be great. It's great to be talking football again with the season right around the corner.
There's nothing better than football.
Fast.
Yes, Krypton is fast. There's nothing better than football.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Norb, it's such an honor to have you here on the Sports Fury. And everybody, you probably already subscribed to Norbcam. If not, go subscribe to him. Link is in the description box down below.
Do it now.
Go follow him on Twitter. He's an amazing guy. Thank you so much once again.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. The honor is mine. So looking forward to this collaboration right here. It's going to be great.
Be a lot of fun.
A lot to get into. So first off, we're going to start off with your team, the Seattle Seahawks. Last year, you guys were 9-7, second in the division. The Rams, they crept up. They surprised everybody. Surprised a lot of us.
Yeah.
Took the division. Now, the Seahawks during the offseason, what were your thoughts on what you guys did?
I think we made a lot of moves in the right direction. What I was really pleased about, especially in the draft, was that they really went after positions that we needed help in. It's been very clear that we've been struggling in the run game, and that has been our identity. It's been lacking the last couple of years ever since Marshawn Lynch left. Yeah. And so our team has always been the philosophy of defense and run the ball. The defense has been solid, but the run the ball just hasn't been there. So the fact that they went and drafted a running back in the first round is a little bit of a surprise to me to go that far, but I like the move because it's not very often the Seahawks draft a first-round running back. But I didn't know much about Rashad Penny, but after looking at his highlights and doing a little more research into him, I'm pretty excited about what he can do. And then having Chris Carson, second year, he had that pretty nasty injury early in the year last year, and he was sadly our leading rusher through most of the season, even though he was out after like 4 games. So that just shows how good he was doing until he got hurt. So the fact that he's back looking really good, and then Rashad Penny as a 1-2 punch back there. And then not to mention the other guys who are still waiting in the wings like Mike Davis. And we got also CJ Prosise, who just can't seem to stay healthy. But when he's healthy, he's really good. And then J.D. McKissick. I mean, all those guys are all fantastic backs. And it'll be interesting to see how they manage to who they decide to keep and not. But I'm hoping we can do kind of like a kind of a double-headed monster like they did with the Saints last year. They had a really awesome tandem in their backfield. And I could see Chris Carson and Rashad Penny doing the same thing. So I'm excited to see those guys both on the field.
Yeah, you said you mentioned that it was a bit of surprise getting Rashad Penny, drafting him in the first round. A lot of people were shocked by that because a lot of people thought maybe you were going to go offensive line, which has been a huge question mark for you guys, especially last year. And then you guys lost a lot of that Legion of Boom lately. Michael Bennett out. Sheldon Richardson.
Sheldon Richardson's gone. He went to the Vikings. Yes. Obviously, we already know about Richard Sherman.
And went to a rival 49ers.
And Chancellor.
And then there's still that looming Earl Thomas trade talk.
Yeah. Shout out to Cam Chancellor.
Cam Chancellor,
his neck injury.
I'm sporting the Cam Chancellor. He was my boy, man. He was one of my favorite Seahawks of all time. Wearing the shirt here just to represent. But seeing him basically retire, not officially retire, but no longer playing football. And same thing happened to Cliff Averill. Same neck type of injury. Both those guys gone too. So, the defense for sure has taken a massive hit, and I think that's why so many people are down on the Seahawks this year, including certain wishy-washy Seahawks fans starting to wonder about our own team. But, I think that we've definitely got some holes to fill. Yeah. But we've got some things that are looking better too. So, but going back to your point, I think everybody was thinking the natural, logical thought is, Seattle needs to focus on an offensive lineman, offensive line. And then when they went for a running back, I was a little bit surprised. But, Seattle did a lot of moves in the offseason and free agency, as well as kind of continuing to bring along the guys who they drafted last year. So really, of all the position groups, the line actually seems to be one of the more stable ones because they just signed Dwayne Brown, our left tackle, who we got from the Texans last year, to an extension. He's solid left tackle. Ethan Posick, our left guard, he was our rookie last year, but he was really, really good for a rookie, and so he's going to his second year looking pretty good. Justin Britt, our center, he's been, ever since they landed him at center, he's really solid at that position. Yeah. And then the real big question is what's happening on the right side. We've got We brought in DJ Fluker from the Giants, and so we'll have to see how that plays out. And then Jermaine Ifedi, who's sort of like a holding penalty machine, who's been a little bit of a disappointment for a first rounder, but he's entering his, he's starting to get some years in, so you'd expect his performance to improve. But, that's kind of the big question. A lot of people are not so high on him.
Right.
But we've also got George Fant, who was supposed to be our left tackle last year, tore his ACL before the season started. So now he's back with some expectations that he might compete at that position. So really, we've got probably one of the more stable lines that we've had in a while, with the question, with just kind of the question of how they rotate that right side. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But many changes, plus
that's
coaches
why I'm
too.
glad that you're here to give us that insight, because a lot of people are just ripping the Seattle Seahawks. That yes, you got Rashad Penny, but what uses that with the fact that your offensive line could be one of the worst going into this year. But you're saying that people are panicking a little bit too much and overlooking this line, which is great for me because I'm thinking about drafting Rashad Penny in some of my fantasy leagues this year. So that's good to know.
Josh,
I hope that's a win-win situation, because if you're happy in that department, I'm going to be pretty happy for our team too. So I just think, the running game has been just terrible. It's been as bad as we've seen in a while. Without Russell Wilson doing what he's doing, I mean, who knows how bad the record would have been last year. But I think that this year the running game is going to improve. I won't say it's going to be like 180 all of a sudden we're going to be number one in the league or something, but I think we're going to drastically see some pretty solid improvements. And for every bit of improvement the running game has, Russell Wilson then becomes that much better at the passing game. So I think that we get the running game going, which I do believe is going to improve. I think the passing game is going to be that much more balanced, and our offense will move up some to a point where I think it might surprise some people. Because right now people just think, the offensive line sucks, they can't run the ball, and Russell Wilson can't do anything, got nothing to work with. So everybody pretty much has expectations down to nothing. They forget Russell Wilson, how good he is. And so give him a running game, he becomes awesome. So, I mean, he's already awesome in my book, but I think he becomes even better. He is a magician. And, I feel like looking at this season, this feels a lot like it was in 2012, where 2012 was kind of the year when Seattle started to kind of find their identity. A lot of the pieces started to come into place. And this is kind of a new, that was when I'd say that last, version of the Seahawks that we've kind of known, that have been in the postseason every year since. That was the start of that era. And now we had our off season, our off year last year, where we didn't make the playoffs. We missed it by just this much, but clearly had a lot of things to work on. But now we've got a big turnover in the defense. A lot of the names going by the wayside. And now it's that time where, like with every team that has to start anew, when they purge a lot of the name players, now you got the new guys who got to come in and establish themselves. And so this is hopefully the year we start finding who's the new Cam Chancellor, who's the new, Richard Sherman, who are those new names that are going to become households someday. And maybe I think we might have one or two already in there. We just haven't seen it yet. So I have cautious optimism about this team.
Hey, Pete Carroll, he came in there. He did great things. Why can't he do this again? Build up that defense.
Yeah.
Once more.
Yeah.
I do have some confidence in Pete Carroll. And now talking about that offense, you were mentioning Russell Wilson. He's got some pretty good weapons this year. I mean, Brandon Marshall, you guys added him. Do you think he makes a good impact on the offense this year, going with Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett?
Yeah, I think, let's face it, he's not the same guy that he was 7, 8 years ago or whatever, when he was at the peak of his career. So I think it's unrealistic to expect him to suddenly bring this huge, contribution. He's not going to replace Jimmy Graham in the number of touchdowns that he had and things like that. However, Jimmy Graham, to a lot of people, felt like that didn't work out. As well as they had hoped it to be. Although I have to argue that, he actually, led the team in touchdowns. He contributed quite a bit. It just probably wasn't what they expected when they saw him with the Saints. It just wasn't really a natural fit. And Brandon Marshall, I think, though he's not as fast and at the peak of his game as he was before, I think he does add a nice red zone strength in that we don't have a real big receiver in our core. We got Doug Baldwin's great. He runs great routes, great hands. Tyler Lockett's quick. But these guys, they're kind of smaller guys, right? Yeah. So we don't really have that really number one kind of large, big body guy that Jimmy Graham was. So I think, though, that in certain situations that he can be that kind of guy who, if you need 3 or 4 yards, or if you're like a third and goal at the 4 or at the 3, he might be the kind of guy that could get that body, and just run a nice fade pattern and, get a quick touchdown that way. So I'm optimistic, just not getting too high hopes that he's going to suddenly just.
I was going to say, like, that was when y'all got Brandon Marshall. That was like, okay, that's what they need for the red zone, especially with losing Jimmy Graham. Brandon Marshall, if he could stay healthy, he could be a huge red zone target for you guys. Yeah. And Russell Wilson.
Yeah, y'all. I think this year it's kind of, they're trying to get that running game going, but it still evolves around Russell Wilson at the end of the day, the offense, right? So give him another weapon over there. They lost Paul Richardson, so add a big receiver like Brandon Marshall should definitely help out.
Mm-hmm. And Doug Baldwin's a beast.
I think he's the most underrated receiver in the league.
I love that guy. Yeah, he's always been solid. Just really clutch, great hands, great routes. And he's like me. He's part Filipino. I'm full Filipino. He's got part Filipino. So we share that blood. You know what I mean? But no, I love that guy, and he always plays with a chip on his shoulder because he knows he's never going to be given the credit. As that kind of marquee guy. So I think he plays with that intensity to kind of prove people wrong. Yeah. But he's been great for Seattle. Now he's kind of one of the veteran leaders on that team. So, hopefully he can help carry the torch.
How do you see the Seahawks defense overall, going up against the likes of the Rams offense? They added some pieces themselves. Brandon Cooks. You got the Cardinals, who they drafted a quarterback. And, David Johnson's coming back next year. And then the 49ers, Jimmy G. Are you worried about Jimmy G? I mean, he was looking pretty good there once he finally got the start.
So, the Jimmy G thing, all right, you talk to a lot of people, especially 49ers fans, and they're just like, they've drunk that.
Oh, they're on top of the world.
That punch all over the place, man. They're drunk on it high like crazy. But I'll tell you one thing, though, he's only played, is it 7 games last season?
7 total, 5 last year, I think, and 2 with the Patriots, I think.
Yeah. So, he's got a small sample size, but granted, he seems to have the pedigree, the training, the coaching, and he seems to make some pretty good decisions. So, but as we all know about backup quarterbacks, it's a lot easier to be the guy who just slides in there with no pressure in relatively no pressure games and do well versus now you're paid, now you're the number one guy, now everyone's going, you better deliver, man. Yep. You're bringing us our six, Lombardi and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. So now the expectations and the pressure is going to be a little bit different. So, not to say that's going to, undermine his skill set and things like that. I think he's a good quarterback from what he's shown so far. But it is early. You got to see you got to do at least one whole season before you can really give him a solid grade to know what you got.
Exactly.
But I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference. Is that until you've seen it for ups and downs, he's going to struggle. There's going to be a game where he's going to struggle. Yeah. And how is he going to bounce back from that? And then, of course, all the defenses, once they get more tape on the guy, they always figure out what's his Achilles heel. Yeah. And just like I think back when the 49ers and the Seahawks were at the peak of the rivalry in 2012, 13, 14. Oh, yeah. When things were just like hot. And, of course, the idea of Sherman going to the 49ers was like, you couldn't even dream about that thought. And then here we are. But remember back then when Kaepernick first burst on the scene, he was like, you couldn't stop the guy. He was untouchable. He was running everywhere. And eventually they figured him out. They figured out what his strengths were, what his weaknesses were. Yeah. And they shut him down. They realized he can't really throw that well. And if you take away his best game, which is his running game, he's not the best passer in the world. Anyway, so that, everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses. And I think Jimmy G, at some point, people are going to kind of figure out some of his tendencies. And then it's going to be how does he then adjust to the adjustments, because everybody does. And then it's the great quarterbacks who are going to take it to that next level and prove that they're, one step above and they're in that elite category. I'm just not quite ready to crown the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been preaching too. I said the same thing. Like, it's not like a lot of defenses have a lot of tape on them. It's different when you have teams preparing for you and game planning for you.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's completely different rather than just going out there not knowing tendencies or knowing what you look at or what you prefer. So it's going to be different.
Expectations are extremely high, especially with the 49ers fans.
They are.
You guys were 6 and 10 49ers fans watching.
Yeah.
You guys were in the basement. You guys are looking to come up. Some of them even think they could even win the division. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the 49ers. They also added Jared. Yeah, talking about the running backs, Jerick McKinnon. I think that's a great fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense and for the 49ers. I mean, because he's going to be able to, he's going to be used a lot more better than he was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Clearly the Rams and the 49ers have definitely made some moves to move towards, to stack their rosters up.
Yeah.
And that definitely gives them another weapon that this is going to be one of the toughest divisions, I think, in the NFL.
It's definitely going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be a lot more interesting than people think.
The Cardinals, the 49ers, I'm sorry. They also drafted Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle. I think that was a pretty good move.
That was a great move by them.
Yeah.
Who else did they draft? They got additions.
Additions. You got so Jerick McKinnon.
Yes.
You got Jonathan Cooper on the offensive line too. So they're revamping that offensive line over there. 49ers. Huge expectations. Defensively,
I still think they're a little weak back there.
I'd say that's pretty a big weakness of them.
Yeah. We're going to have to see how that all progresses with them, right? The 49ers, their total defense last year was 24th.
I'm talking like up front. Secondary, I think it will be pretty decent.
Secondary is pretty, upgraded.
Richard Sherman, you always
Richard Sherman, we'll see, I think that's the big question is what kind of Richard Sherman are we going to see when he comes back from his injury? I think so far he's progressing well. He's actually not, he's able to practice, and so he already earned some roster bonus money by just getting on the field. Yeah. So good for him. He's making good on his investment. So far. If he's even 3/4 of the guy he is when he was with Seattle, I mean that's a pretty darn good cornerback. So it'll be interesting to see how much impact he makes. But I'm hoping he doesn't. Because we got to face him twice.
I think Jimmy G is going to be pretty good this year. I'm probably a little bit higher on him than Sean is going into this season. I love Marquise Goodwin, Pierre Garçon. I think he's got the weapons.
The only issue I have is I think he's going to be good, but I feel like they don't have a red zone guy yet. Last year that was their biggest struggle when they got in the red zone. They couldn't score. And they still don't. I don't feel like have that big receiver. That's why. Early in the offseason when Dez got cut from my Cowboys, I thought he could be a good red zone guy.
Maybe Dez might go there. Who knows?
You never know. Maybe. But, until they get a red zone guy, because that's their biggest struggle. Even with Jimmy G starting last year, that was their biggest issue, scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Robbie Gould won him a lot of games.
Yep.
All right, let's go into the Los Angeles Rams. We already mentioned them a couple of times already. I mean,
11-5
we're talking about making splashes in the NFL in the offseason. I mean, Rams, Browns, Chicago Bears probably made the biggest splashes.
Yeah.
They signed a whole bunch of people. They went out there and they got Brandon Cooks.
Yes.
They got Ndamukong Suh, which is going to be massive for that D-line with Aaron Donald.
Oh, God, yeah. And Marcus Peters, you have Aqib Talib.
Yep.
Dude, that whole defense was their biggest
Sam
weakness.
Shields, veteran.
Yeah, their biggest weakness was their defense last year. And, oh, man, they got him.
Yeah.
How scared are you of the Rams this year?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's a scary situation. During free agency, man, it just seemed like every other Twitter announcement was like, "Rams sign this guy, Rams is coming soon." It's just like, oh man, it's just like an all-star team of defensive players coming their way. Yep. They're pretty scary, and the Rams have been, tough. We have always had a tough time, with the Rams, and even though they just haven't really been very good as in total over the last several years, we always tend to have tough games with those guys, especially with their defense. And that defensive line was already tough with Aaron Donald on that side to put Suh on there. Suh was the guy who 2 seasons ago, he's the one who stepped on Russell Wilson's ankle in the first game when he was with the Dolphins and basically kind of crippled him for the first half of the season. So remembering that happened there, the idea of Donald and him both coming down. I'm hoping our line can that Russell either Russell gets rid of the ball quick or we get some decent pass protection because man, those guys are gonna be coming down like some wild dogs, man.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's scary. It is scary, and they whooped our ass pretty good the last time they played us up in CenturyLink, and so we don't want a replay of that situation. So obviously they got our attention for sure.
A lot of people label them a super team. And usually those things don't work out.
Yeah, Super Bowl a bust. Everybody's saying too. Everybody thinking if they don't hit the Super Bowl, it's going to be a bust. But I don't think it's bust yet because a lot of these guys like Marcus Peters and Akeem Talib both have another year and they're left their contract. So they have 2 years with them.
Re-signed. They extended Gurley.
Yeah, they extended Gurley, locked him up. Changed the market on the run backs.
Extended Brandon Cooks. Were you surprised that they extended Gurley and Cooks before they did Aaron Donald?
It's a little bit of the same conversations people are having about extending Dwayne Brown and Earl Thomas still being without a contract extension. It's kind of the same thing. Everybody's talking about that. That's all the news right now is Earl Thomas holding out and all that. And so I guess in the same way, it's a little bit surprising. And I know it's frustrating as a fan because, of course, you just want stuff to get done. Yeah. So you say, just pay the guy. And then you want him, just show up and everybody's happy, But, of course, this is a business and it doesn't always go the way you want it to. And they got to get theirs and everything like that. But,
I think he'll get signed. I think he'll get signed very soon.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah,
better.
I think so, too. And, but Seattle's going to have to be careful because, again, going back to my Cam Chancellor, I love the fact that they extended him, was it 2 seasons ago? And unfortunately, it was great for Cam. It was not so good for the team because the worst case scenario is when you extend long term with a lot of guaranteed money and then they get hurt and basically they're done. Yeah. That's just, it's not like they planned it, but it's the death blow to the cap, the money resources allocated to one guy. And now he's not available. So I'm sure they're thinking about that going, do we want to do the same thing for Earl when we just got burned by one of the other safeties in the LOB? So it's understandable where they're coming from. Yet also Earl's going, well, I want to get paid. This is probably my last long-term extension. I got to get mine. And so I understand where both are coming from. It's just the whole contract structure is kind of messed up. I hope they can fix all that because if they
Earl Thomas the last couple of years been getting hurt? Like, was it last year too? I know this past year, obviously, he got hurt, right?
He broke his leg against the Carolina Panthers the season before, and that took him out for a while. But that was kind of a fluke. In fact, it was him and Cam Chancellor colliding that broke his leg.
I remember that play.
But it's kind of flukish because it wasn't like one of those injuries where the guy's getting old, he's slow, he's still fast and everything. It's just one of those kind of fluke injuries. Same thing with Chancellor and same thing with Averill. Nobody expects, I better not re-sign him because at 31 he's probably going to break his neck and not play again. Nobody expects that. Yeah. And yet it happened to 2 of our players. So I'm sure they're thinking about that as they're trying to figure out what's the best deal for the team with Earl Thomas going forward. So I hope they sign him because I'd love to have him there. But, man, he's sure airing out a lot of his frustrations and laundry out there for everybody to see, which just doesn't make the fans feel any better. You know what I mean? Right. But anyway, your original question, though, was was I surprised that they extended Gurley and Cooks before Donald? I'm not sure what Donald wants exactly and how far apart they are. If it's similar, I feel like it's similar to the Earl Thomas kind of situation. So I can understand it in that regard. But you got to extend Gurley. I mean, that guy's,
hands down,
MVP last year. Guy ran all over the place last year and definitely ran all over the place on us. Yep. And so I definitely see that. I was like, yep, that had to happen. Cooks, I'm not sure about that one. That was pretty big investment early on for
he hasn't even taken the field yet.
Yeah, he's not even played a snap for them yet.
Exactly. So that was a bit of a surprise. The Gurley not so much, but the Brandon Cooks one, they must see something that they really like about him. But that one's a little bit unexpected. But I hope they have more turmoil and frustration on the Aaron Donald front. Nothing would make me happier than to see a
I bet
out the season. Go get yours, Aaron. Just hold out, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. I understand that. Yeah. But now let's talk about Jared Goff. A lot of people are so 50-50 on Goff. Who's the real Jared Goff here? Is it the rookie year Jared, or is it going to be what we saw a little bit of last year?
Yeah.
I don't put too much stock into rookie year because that whole offense was just atrocious.
Jeff Fisher.
It was anemic.
Oh, God.
Even Todd Gurley didn't have that great of a year at all.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jared Goff? You think he's a good quarterback?
After his rookie year, I thought, this guy's trash. I can't believe these guys drafted him. He sucks,
Yeah.
But then last year, it's like, oh damn, that's pretty good. They almost beat us twice. If not for a slight overthrow in LA, they would have beaten us. They would have swept us last year. So, so he's definitely improved, and I got to credit the coaching staff and all that, and the system and the changes they made from first year to second.
Makes a big
Obviously,
difference.
Talent needs good coaching, and I think Sean McVay down there is doing a pretty damn good job. So
hell yeah, he did. He turned that shit around. And then offensive line that really stepped up last year.
Yeah,
because going into the 2017 season, I thought it was absolutely one of the worst offensive lines. But they
went and got Whitworth. I think that's his name.
Yeah,
from the Bengals.
They made a huge stride last year.
Yeah.
So I like Jared Goff. I think he's a really good quarterback, and he's got a ton of weapons. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, who's going to be a nice deep threat. I mean, this offense, this defense, I don't see too much weaknesses here. I mean, other than the rush defense, I don't know.
Depending on what happens with Aaron Donald,
right? But
it's hard. It's hard to know. Entering year 3, is it bad version? Is it good version? Obviously, the more recent year, you got to get more stock into because that's the one that is what most recently happened and is going to continue on for the next few years. So I would probably say, we're definitely seeing the better version, and it could even be better than it was last year. Scary to say how powerful that offense was last year, but teams do figure things out, and so it's possible he could have a little bit of a regression, but I don't see too much of one. I mean, if it was 50-50 and 50 was last year and 100 is or the first year and 100 is this one, well, maybe we're somewhere in between, that he's going to be in that sort of 89% of what he was last year. I'm hoping it's the latter, because if he's going to be anything better than he was last year, man, that's a scary team right there on both sides of the ball. So
definitely.
Rams, high expectations. Can they live up to them? We'll see.
Big question.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Arizona Cardinals. 8-8 last year, finished third in the division.
This is an interesting one.
Now, Norb, me and Sean were talking about the Cardinals, and I think this is a team that's a little bit underrated here. I think people forget how good their defense really was last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 6 total defense. They were 14th against the pass, 6th against the rush. Their offense, they were plagued
obviously injuries
at quarterback.
David Johnson was out.
Yeah, David
after
Johnson.
Week 1.
What do you think about? What are your thoughts on the Cardinals, especially with them drafting Josh Rosen?
Well, I was during the draft. I have to be honest. When they drafted Rosen, I was like, "Oh man, they actually got a quarterback now! Damn it!" I was hoping that those guys were going to flounder around like the 49ers did without a quarterback for 4 or 5 years, and then eventually, get one. But I don't really know how great Josh Rosen's going to be in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think there's
he may not even start. He may not start the season.
But he will play eventually because Sam Bradford's starting, which means he won't last more than half the season. So we'll see him at some point.
Exactly.
But true. That's for sure. But David Johnson, though, that's the biggest reason they didn't succeed last year, because that guy is awesome. That dude is badass. I think everybody's kind of, how it is like a year goes by and the player hasn't played, you kind of forget about him. It's like, David Johnson's back. Oh,
especially with him getting hurt so early.
A lot
the
of
season last year. Yeah.
They said he could have played last year, but they were like nowhere close to being capable to make the playoffs. So they're like,
risk it.
There's no point.
Risk it. Yeah, exactly. So, David Johnson scares me, man, because I'm not going to trash talk the Cardinals too much because they beat us at home at the end of the season, and we did beat them down there, but we were a different team at that point. Actually that Arizona Cardinal game down in Arizona when we won, it was a very bittersweet game because that's the game where we lost Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor in the same game. The LOB was sliced in half in one game.
Yeah.
And people kind of forget that all happened in Arizona at the same time, but it was, wearing those nasty ass green uniforms down in Arizona. that's what happened. And so, so that was, not a fond memory. But again, like the Rams, like the Cardinals too, they seem to have our number as well. The year before, we didn't beat them at all. We tied them and we lost. Last year, we beat them and then we lost. So I never asked the Cardinals, but with David Johnson, he's gonna change things for that a little bit, being back if he's as good as he was before the injury.
Yeah,
and I also like that draft of Christian Kirk. Also,
oh yes,
I think that he's going to be a solid wide receiver there along with Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, a guy that never ages apparently.
Yeah,
Larry, God.
So I think this Cardinals team, I like it, man. I think it's a little bit under the radar.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Oh yeah, this offense. They had an injury to obviously Carson Palmer and also David Johnson, so that's their whole offense.
Yeah.
Now Larry Fitzgerald, he's still catching 100 passes a year, even at his age. Christian Kirk is great. I think this. And me and you talked about it. I told you, I was like, man, I really think this offense could be better than people think.
Steve Wilkes, that hiring was great. Bruce Arians, retired, and Steve Wilkes, who was a defensive coordinator from the Carolina Panthers, that was a fantastic hire. I mean,
phenomenal.
So
it kind of keeps the identity intact because they have always had a really great defense.
Yep.
Of course, with new coaches, you're having to kind of see, okay, how's the team going to adapt to the new team and the leadership and philosophy. Kind of same thing with Seattle. We basically, after last year, besides losing all those star players, we also practically purged our entire assistant coach, the coaching staff. Yeah. We got brand new offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Our defensive coordinator is actually our former linebackers coach, so it's a little familiar.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we're kind of starting, with new leadership down there, and that's part of the excitement and the nervousness at the same time because you're hoping the change is going to make something better for the team.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't. Same thing with the head coach. It could be a great move. It could be one that takes the team down. So there's a lot to be figured out. Not everybody's great head coach material. Like who's the Wade for
Wade Phillips.
The D coordinator for Wade Phillips for the
He only had a good couple years in Dallas, and then it was downhill.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he fits best in what he's doing down there as a D coordinator. He's an fantastic defensive coordinator. So, but not necessarily head coach material. So I guess we'll find out if this guy's a good fit for the Cardinals. But I thought Bruce Arians did a great job in those few years. The Cardinals it's one of those teams where they had their window to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I thought that window when the Carolina Panthers ended up going. But in that window, that was that time when they were kind of at that peak where you thought, okay, if they don't get it done here, they might then have to be on that downside because, you knew Carson Palmer was going to be leaving pretty soon. And you didn't know if Fitzgerald was going to be around. Fitzgerald, like you said, seems to be ageless.
Yeah.
But it felt like once Palmer was gone, it was going to be that long time search for who's going to be the next quarterback. And it seemed like with that team, every time Palmer went down, it just the whole team completely fell apart.
And no quarterback.
It's that in fact that year we went back to back when we ended up stealing the division and then eventually going to the Super Bowl to play the Patriots. That year the Cardinals were leading the division for the longest time, and it was at the very end.
Yeah,
I think Palmer, went down and we took it in and basically jumped ahead of them. But the Cardinals. I think that's why I say I think the NFC West is going to be one of the toughest divisions because it's easy to kind of say Rams, Niners. Cardinals, Seahawks, somewhere fighting for the basement. It's easy to just throw us in there now because of changes and stuff. But I'm telling you, I think the Cardinals and the Seahawks, both of these teams, are going to give the two presumed leaders in the division a run for the money and might surprise some people. So
Right, yeah. I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
NFC West, it's a pretty good division.
Yeah.
I don't see any of these teams, including the 49ers or the Cardinals, being weak. I don't see a weak team in this division.
And even
a bad team.
Even in the past, and I know you talked about it earlier, like for some reason when y'all play each other, it's always great games, right? Even when the Rams when y'all were dominating all those years, right? And the Rams, whenever y'all would go to St. Louis, they would always give it to y'all.
Oh, we could not win there, man. I swear
y'all never could. But
I swear I was
this
I felt
division's
like
always good games.
Exactly. I felt that was cursed because I went to like a bunch of away games at the Rams and hoping to see a win, and every time Actually, most of the away games I went over the last 2 seasons, I don't think we ever won. So I think I'm bad luck no matter what. But hopefully that ends this year, because I'm going to be going out to watch the Raiders and the Seahawks in England. So we better bring some good luck on that one. Otherwise, I'm going to swear I'm officially cursed. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun, man.
Do y'all play Chicago in Chicago? Are you going to go
to that one? That's right, Chicago, week 2.
You're playing the Bears in Chicago. You nervous about that? I think that's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be a good test for us to play you guys at home.
It's going to be a fun one. I mean, it's second week. It's early, but it's a national game. ESPN. I think it's Monday night, isn't it? The Monday night game.
Yup, prime time.
Prime time, man. So I mean, you know, that just makes it that much more exciting. But you know, in Chicago, actually, if I recall, the last time we played in Chicago, that was sort of Wilson's breakout game. I think it was in 2012. It was when we had to beat you guys in overtime.
You remember that, Josh?
Gold Tate had the touchdown. Eventually, the game winner went to. He's now doing chicken wings. The names escapes me anyway, but we had the touchdown in overtime to win that game, and man, that was kind of our Russell Wilson coming out party, because I remember that was up to that point, you know, it wasn't sure what kind of team we were going to have, and after that, it sort of, you know, propelled us to another level. So I have to thank the Chicago Bears for helping us.
Well,
you know, have Russell Wilson rise to the occasion and be the franchise quarterback that he is.
Well, let me tell you something, Norb. It's going to be a little bit different this year when you guys go to Chicago. We're playing Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
our team is looking pretty good this year. Defensively, we have been good for a while. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how we can. Nobody can contain Russell Wilson. He's just too much of a beast.
Yeah, he's a monster.
But I don't know. Maybe we can take a little advantage of that defense being a little bit weaker going into this year, because Trubisky's got weapons now. We got our run game. I cannot wait. I think that's going to be a good test for us. Even if we lose, I'm interested to see how we can compete with the likes of Russell Wilson. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It's a good test, really, for all of our teams, really, at that point.
True.
It's, you know, we always say it's early, but, you know, in football, every game counts so much. You know, you don't want to start 0-2 or 1-3, 1-4. You got to get those early victories just to kind of set the pace, right? So no, it's gonna be a tough one. We start this season on the road twice. So, you know, that's a tall order already. You know, Denver to start the season, and then Chicago before we finally play the Cowboys at home to open up the home season.
Yes.
So we have a tough schedule. So I'm definitely not looking at any, you know, circling going, oh, that's an easy win. There's no easy wins.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at your schedule and I don't see an easy game. I don't.
Seattle's definitely got a tough schedule. So and Josh, I really do need your Bears to wear them out that Monday night, because that's going to be a short week. They have to play us at home.
Short week.
Consider it done, sir.
Okay, please. No, because it's always tough to play Seattle in Seattle. Even though my Cowboys have had good luck in Seattle the last couple times we played y'all there, and I, you know, just want to point that out. But no, either way, it's still gonna be tough to play in Seattle.
Yeah, the toughest places to play in all of football.
12th man. Oh goodness.
I hope. Playing at home. Yeah, we definitely got to bring some noise, because our team's gonna need all the help they can get. But yeah, going back to the Bears though, what's your feeling on your quarterback there? Are you totally sold? Are you love him? What's
Norb?
I just want to know.
Norb, let me tell you something. Put the hat back on. When we first drafted Mitchell Trubisky, we moved up and we traded those picks to move one spot because the 49ers from your division played us a little bit, because I wasn't convinced they were going to draft Trubisky. But they convinced Ryan Pace. We moved up and we drafted him. He only started, 13 games in college from North Carolina, which is not a big football school. I was pretty upset. I was in a rage.
We had that reaction.
Right? Because Nora, I don't know if you know this, but we don't have a great history at quarterback. Statistically, Jay Cutler is the greatest quarterback we've ever had. That should just tell you something. So I was very weary about that. However, Norb, going into preseason and seeing what he is capable of last year with a depleted wide receiving core, I came around very quickly. I believe in Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to be fantastic for the Bears. And now that he has Matt Nagy as his head coach, and we have a competent coaching staff, we have a run game. That run game is fantastic. We got weapons, Allen Robinson. We got Taylor Gabriel. We got Trey Burton. I think Trubisky's going to be just A-okay.
A-okay. All right.
We're going to see. Finally, he's got weapons. There's no excuses now.
I'm confident in him.
No excuses.
Very confident in him.
A-okay. Isn't that like giving a C rating? I am confident, son, that you're going to have a nice solid C this quarter.
No, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. There's still question marks on that. Let's see what he could do going into year two. Now with a competent coaching staff and like everything, adding all these weapons, let's see what he can do. Yeah. I'm pretty confident.
You know what I love about this point of the season? Is everybody has all the hope in the world.
You
hear it. True. You hear it in his voice. Yeah. My voice. We're all talking about. I think we're gonna surprise people. I think he's gonna be A-okay. I think we could win this division. Well, I'm not.
Check back with me week 3 after we play Green Bay week 1 and you guys week 2. I might be a mess. I don't know.
Hey, it's only 2 games. The season's early. Right?
It's all over, Sean.
That's how the Chicago fans are, though. They're like, "Oh, we're done. We're over."
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. It's just, so many, just in our division. I mean, everybody's practically crowned the Rams as division winners and possibly Super Bowl NFC representatives already, which I love the fact, actually, that the Niners and the Rams are getting so much hype and press, because I've always felt that the Seahawks do better when they are overlooked, when they are, basically the underdogs. I love being in that position. That feels more natural to me. I don't like being the top dog where everybody's targeting us on the back. I like where everyone says, they suck. They're not going to win. So then we can go in with nothing to lose. At least it feels that way. So that's kind of, I like the fact that it's that way. But number 2, the other part I'm happy about, as much as it was fun to really mock the 49ers over the last 5 seasons because they really stunk, it's actually fun to have them back being a competitive team again, because, you get kind of tired of whooping somebody's ass over and over again. And it's not really a rivalry when there's no competition. Yeah. So the fact that we got this Richard Sherman thing with him trash talking the Seahawks and him saying the Seahawks have lost their way. And now, of course, the day comes when we have to actually witness the two on the same field, Sherman in a 49er uniform against my beloved Seahawks. Him trying to cover Doug Baldwin or whatever receiver and trying to pick off Russell Wilson. That's going to be painful. Yeah. It is going to be a very painful day. And people kind of have easily thought, we're over that. Well, whatever, let them go. When they see it for the first time, it's going to be hard, man. It's like seeing your ex-girlfriend with a new guy making out. You think you're over it. Oh, yeah, I'm good. And then you see him, it's like, why did you do this to me? Anyway, so... I'm preparing for that moment to be sort of emotionally messed up when I see him on the field. Mm-hmm. But hey, it's business, and hopefully the Seahawks can still find a way to win that game.
I did want to ask you, coming as a Cowboy fan, because we did get an assistant coach from y'all, Chris Richard, and I'm super hyped about him. I love Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor all loved him. Coming from a Seattle fan, how'd you like him? I'm excited about him. Is the hype real about him?
I liked him. I was actually shocked that he got fired, because I kind of thought he got a raw deal, because, I didn't think the problem with our team's failures this year had to do with the defensive coordinator. Yeah. And so to me, I felt like that was just an opportunity to sort of clean house, because we first time not making the playoffs in 5 years or whatever. So let's just clean the whole cupboard out and start anew. It felt like he just got caught up being an unfortunate product of that sort of sweeping clear, of everything. But I liked him. I thought he was he's been a great DB coach, and I was fine with him as a defensive coordinator. I really didn't have any issues with him. Sometimes the issues were created by the players with the whole challenging getting in coaches' faces and stuff like that. Yeah. And sometimes I wondered, why they're not getting a better hold of that sort of thing. But, that's kind of the culture we have. Let these guys be themselves almost to a fault.
Works,
Exactly. So sometimes I felt like I got out of control, I felt like I don't think that would happen with our having Ken Norton Jr. back. I don't think that would have happened. You know, I think Chris Richard's kind of more of a player's guy. You know, the younger coach and all that. But I thought he was fine as a coach in general. Okay. So good, I'm glad he got a job, and I don't think you'll be disappointed in him. Okay. But I thought he got a raw deal, so I'm glad he got a second chance somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I think he's probably gonna Rod Marinelli. He's getting old, so I could see him taking over on Marinelli in maybe a year or two. That's pretty much. I think that's what they probably told him, because he did take a step down. He's not our defense coordinator. But he's right. Yeah. He's going to be. So
yeah. No, he was. You know, he was really. I really liked him as a specialized coach on the defensive side, because he really helped build that LOB to what it was. So
that's exactly what I'm. That's what I'm hoping for in Dallas.
A lot of passion, a lot of energy. So he's great fun to watch. So I hope he calls a really crappy game though when you guys come to town. But other than that, I hope it works out for you guys.
I hope he doesn't do that. But no, I'm excited.
All right, Norb. So any last thoughts before we get out of here on the NFC West? It's going to be a good division. It's going to be interesting to watch.
It's going to be good.
Any last thoughts?
All I could say is, don't get too stuck on the pattern of first, second, third, and fourth, because I think everybody sort of inked it for what's going to be. I'm pretty sure that 1 and 2 are going to be floating around up there, but I would not write off the 3 and 4 right now. That there's still a chance that for my Seahawks, I'm not going to officially make a prediction yet. That comes when I do my prediction music video in a few weeks.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to watch that.
But yeah, so I need to see some preseason to kind of really feel like I know what our team's looking like. But I'm not going to say that I think our team's going to win the division. Yeah, we're back. I'm not going to go all that crazy, but I'm going to say that the postseason is back-to-back. Missing the postseason back-to-back, I would not count on that. I would not bet on that. So
okay,
we'll be in the mix. We'll be in the mix, man.
All right. So everybody, go ahead and let us know in the comment section down below all your thoughts on the NFC West. Norbcam, thank you so much for all your great insight for your Seahawks and on the division. We appreciate your time and coming on here. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Well, appreciate you guys, Josh and Sean. Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun just to jump right back into football, and I'm excited, man. There's no better time of the year than maybe Christmas, but right before football season. Best time of the year, man.
Everybody's so optimistic. We'll see how we feel after a couple weeks.
Everybody's a potential Super Bowl champion at this point of the year.
Anything's possible any given Sunday.
All right. So we'll see how it all plays out in 2018 from this division. It's going to be very interesting. Everyone, make sure you go subscribe to Norbcam. Go follow him on Twitter. Links in the description box down below.
Do it, guys.
And we'll see you in 2018.
All right.